All right, so you cannot effort yourself into awakening. There is no spiritual practice that you can participate in that is going to accelerate you awakening to your true nature. Now, what I want you to realize is that there's always more for you to awaken to anyways. So even when you get to the point of being awakened to a point where you've been reaching, there's always going to be another place for you to reach. Because when you're in a physical body, there's always more awareness to have. If you were pure consciousness, if you were pure awareness right now, you wouldn't have a body. So while you're here, there is never going to be a point where you reach this pinnacle and you're like, okay, I've made it, I'm here, like, oh my God. Like, that's all the ego, because the ego, wants this fancy show. It wants this amazing event where you think you feel fantastic because you're awakened. And that's really just a story that we have in our minds that we've been sold, because a lot of us who start going down this path of spirituality and awakening, we start watching videos, and then we see all of these teachers and we're like, oh my God, look at them. They got it all figured out. Like, they're on a stage and they got a lot of money and they got a lot of books and they got a lot of whatever. But in reality, they are just normal people. And, that's why I appreciate a lot of the teachers on YouTube who share the real, true, raw authenticity of what awakening is. Instead of it being like, follow my process and you will get to this place. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't follow their process. Like, let's say someone presents a process to you. Follow it if it feels right in your heart, right? But that doesn't mean that it's the way to go, okay? Now, also, this doesn't mean to not follow your spiritual practices, to not do something. I'm just saying those things are not going to further the pace of you awakening. It is organic, meaning it happens at its own pace. And your mind, what you think you can control, is not going to push it along. Think about it like this. There is this greater mind. There is this broader perspective that you are, but you are also this smaller perspective. So who do you think has control in that situation? The broader mind or the smaller mind? No matter how much the small mind tries to control, the broader mind will always have control over the situations of life. So, just like a tree, do you think a tree decides that it's going to push out another leaf today? Or do you think it just happens? That's exactly how awakening is. So, people run around and they're trying to get awake, trying to recognize their true nature. Like, right now, I got to figure it out right now, but it's just not going to be that way. But when you know that, you can kind of relax, and it takes off this pressure of, I got to awaken. I got to be someone. I got to shine and show everybody how spiritual I am, right? It doesn't matter. So this is where the balance between intention and surrender comes from. So you still want to have intention, right? But you also got to surrender to the greater power that is controlling this whole show, which is you, which you are a part of. But that's the fun of the game. You have this smaller perspective, but you're also able to tune into this higher perspective. But you have to find your own balance with that. There is no rule book that somebody can give you and say, okay, you got to have this much intention and this much surrender, and then you're going to awaken. It doesn't work like that. You got to figure it out for yourself through trial and error. We grow up with all of these conditionings and all of these ideas of how to be a successful person, how to be a good person so that we can be loved, right? And we think we have to do all these things to be somebody, to be loved, to be good enough. But it's not true. The only thing you have to do, I would say, is listen to your own heart and not what everybody else is saying. Now, I know it looks that way. It looks like it's so easy. I mean, it's not easy, but it's so possible to accelerate your awakening. It might appear that way, but it's really not that way. Like, here's the thing. I meditate, I do breath work, but I do it now with the intention of it buffering my experience, meaning helping the bumps along the way, right? You can look at your practice like that rather than this is helping me to manifest all the money I want, or this is helping me to manifest that car, or that boyfriend, or whatever the hell you want. So that's just the way that I look at it, instead of, that's not the way, what I meant is that's not the way I look at it. The way I look at it is, this is helping me to buffer my experience as a human, and it helps me, you know? But you gotta understand there's only so much the mind can control. There is so much that this broader perspective is actually in control of. So you still have intention. You still have intention for your life, and you still apply yourself. But you've got to start feeling for, okay, where and how much do I apply myself, and how much do I allow this broader perspective to take over and surrender to that. So it's intention and surrender. This is something that came to me today, because lately in my life, I've really been like, okay, what the hell am I supposed to do? Like, how much do I need to try to get this thing that I'm wanting? And how much do I need to surrender? And I think for me, I figured out that I need to surrender a little bit more. And also apply myself a little bit more, but in a different way, you see? So it's different for everybody. And it's organic. It's organic. I mean, and the mind and your ego is not gonna love to hear that. Like, I know a lot of us like to listen to videos, and we like to hear things like, okay, you just gotta do this, this, and this, and you're gonna be rocking. Like, you are going to be there. And it's just not the case. Again, once you get there to whatever place you think you wanna be at, so that you feel better, you're going to want something else. That elation of getting that thing or that experience is going to wear off. But how beautiful to know that earlier on in your journey than like later down the road, when you're like super old and you're like, oh my God, if only I knew that all these things weren't gonna make me happy. Like, you don't have that issue if you recognize this at a young age. I'm 25, so I am very grateful for the recognizing a lot of the things that I have. And there's still more to recognize, you know? But there's no forcing, and just let yourself be easy with this. Because there's really not much for you to do unless you want to do something, unless you feel inspired to do something. And I'll probably make another video about inspired action versus efforting action, and the difference, because that's a big part of it. Most people are running on, I gotta do this, and I gotta effort myself through my entire life so I can be worthy of being loved, or being a good person, or getting this thing. And then you realize, some of us realize early on, like, oh, if I act on inspired action, I am going to get a lot further. So I can go into that like pretty deeply. So I will do another video on that. But you guys, it's an organic process, awakening. And a lot of the time, again, the mind takes that and thinks, I want to awaken because we want to be somebody. We want to shine. We want to show everybody how spiritual we are. And it's just kind of ridiculous. I don't know, but the older I get, and I know I'm young, but the older I get, the more I don't want to shine, I guess you can say. The more I like kind of being, I don't like saying a nobody, but yeah, kind of like a nobody. I don't want to boast about things, you know, I don't want to do that. So anyways, just be easy with yourself. This is an organic process. Remember that tree analogy. A tree doesn't decide when it decides to push out another leaf. Just like you in your journey. Have trust, no matter what you're going through in your life right now. Remember, I'm serious, no matter how bad it is. Remember, there is something there that is going to catch you when you fall. But you gotta believe in it. You gotta have faith. So anyways, I will see you guys later.